Hello, and welcome to this episode of
Kilimanjaro.
Hello, my name is Jim Gurman, and today I'll be doing a review of the Ridgid X4 impact driver. So first, let's start off with what you get in the box. You get this little bag here, which I'll put in my collection of bags and boxes that I don't ever use. You get the not-so-useful owner's manual that is basically full of warnings. You get a very nice charger here that will charge both the lithium-ion batteries that this drill comes with, as well as the older style nickel-cadmium batteries. I'll go over some of the features of that in a minute. You also get one Phillips head bit, which I'm not even sure is impact rated. Impact rated bits usually are black. This one's not, and there's no way to actually tell. So I probably won't be using that with my impact driver. And then lastly, you get the impact driver and only a single battery. So this kit costs about $140. It's typically available at Home Depot or any other supplier that sells Ridgid tools. First, let's go over some of the features of the impact driver itself. On the bottom, you've got the battery. It's got a little button here that has the 4 little LEDs that light up, telling you how much charge there is. The battery feels a little loose. It's not really the highest quality feeling button right there. It easily clips in. There's 2 little things on each side. Slides in. That goes in real nicely. There's a little LED down here. Now this LED is different than a lot of impact drivers. Most impact drivers, the LED is triggered by the trigger. This one here, there's a little switch down here that triggers it. So these LEDs shine up onto your workpiece. I like this method a lot better. That means that whenever you want, you can just squeeze down here, or whenever you're holding it, the LEDs will come on. You don't have to try and just tap on the trigger a little bit to get the light to come on if you're working in the dark or in a kind of a dark area. So next, you've got the reversing switch here. It's like most, goes forward, reverse, and when it's in the middle, the trigger's locked, so you can't accidentally set it off while it's in your tool bag or something like that. It's got a collet here that's a little bit different. It's a one-handed collet, so you just push the bit in and it locks down. Now this pulls back when you push it down. When you pull on it, you'll see the bit pops out like that. So that's to let you be able to do it all with one-handed. I haven't decided if I like that or not. It's kind of an interesting design choice. Sometimes it's nice, it pops out real easily. Sometimes it's kind of pain because as you see, it pops and falls on the floor and you can't find it. At the back here, there's a clip here for a bit. I really like this. A lot of the impact drivers are lacking this, and it makes it really nice that if you're switching between 2 bits, or if you're just have a bit back there for everyday usage, it's a really nice, convenient place to have it. When you're walking up on a ladder, it's a real pain to have to crawl down to get another bit. It also comes with a belt hook that you can put either on this side or on this side. The belt hook seems really nicely made, very sturdy, easy to clip on. It's got a nice big clearance here. This is not a brushless impact driver. The motor has brushes in it, which may wear out over time. It also means that it's a little less powerful and it uses a little more battery. It's a little less efficient than some of the newer, more expensive brushless kind. Because of that, there's 4 screws at the back here that should let you take off the back plate and get to the brushes if you were to ever need to replace them. It's probably not an issue on a cordless drill. The battery's going to die out very much sooner than the brushes on the motor would, but if you use a lot of batteries, you replace the batteries a lot, you could end up having to replace those. So it's nice that that's pretty easy and straightforward to get to. The motor itself is mounted straight into the casing. There's no shock absorbers around it that some of the more expensive impact drivers have. That means that if you drop it or run over it or something, there's a higher chance that this is going to break than some of the other ones. The impact driver feels very nice in your hand. It's well balanced. I will say that this kind of dotted coating that's on here is not really my favorite coating. It's pretty grippy, but it's a little sharp too, and after using it for a while, it started to irritate my hand a little, but I suspect most people won't have a problem with that. I also am not really a fan of this kind of clear plastic they put over top of here. I don't really understand what they're really going for. It doesn't light up or anything, and you can see there's a lot of dirt that's gotten in there, and it kind of looks kind of crummy. Moving on to the battery charger. The battery charger is really nice. It'll charge either the 9.6 or 18 volt Ridgid batteries, so if you have some other tools that are made by Ridgid, it'll charge those. Instead of just having a single LED that kind of blinks or changes color to try to let you know what's going on, it actually has 5 different ones here that let you know if there's something wrong, if it's over temperature, if it's fully charged, that it has power. So it's a lot easier to figure out what exactly is going on. On the back here, it's got 2 mounting holes here, and it actually even says the distance between them. So if you're trying to drill some holes to put some screws to mount this somewhere, it's easy to figure out how far apart those screws can be. So I really like this. It's very well thought out. I've put a Phillips bit in the impact driver, and I've put my safety glasses on. Always a good idea when you're using any power tool, particularly one that's an impact tool. So now I'm just going to show you how this works. So this only has a single speed, but it has a variable speed trigger. Some other impact drivers have a selection switch somewhere that switches from 1 to 2 or 1 to 3. So this works very nicely. If you just want to turn it a little, it turns just a little. If you want to turn it a lot, it turns a lot. You have a lot of really good control. I can go really nice and real slow on it. And something that I really like about this one is the impact goes even while it's at a very slow speed. So if I just hold it down a little bit, I can slowly drive that screw in precisely how much I want it, and the impact still works. Some of the other impact drivers, the impact won't go off at the slower speeds. I've got a couple of these 3.5-inch deck screws that I'll drive into this Douglas fir 4x4 just so you can see how well this works. So you can see I had a lot of difficulty with that one there. If you notice on the back side here, there's this big knot. When it hits that knot, it has a lot of trouble. So this isn't the most powerful impact driver. As you can see, I had a lot of trouble getting it to even sit flush on there. Let's do a couple other ones. I'll try to avoid that knot. We'll see how those go. So when there's no knot there, it has no problem. Here I have a Spax screw instead. This screw has some serrations at the front of it, as well as it has a Torx head, so these screws are a little bit easier to drive. Let's see how it makes out with those. So you can see it has no problem with those. Those screws always go in nice and easily. The X4 impact driver is rated to 1,750 inch-pounds of torque. That's equivalent to 145 foot-pounds, so it should have no problem taking out this big half-inch bolt that I torqued to 120 foot-pounds. It typically takes a little bit less torque to untorque a bolt that's been recently installed with no corrosion, things like that. So I just put this in a few minutes ago, so it should be fairly easy to take out. Let's see how well it can do on that. So you can see it's able to do it, but not very easily. I suspect that torque rating is a little generous. I think from my measurements, I was able to get about 130 foot-pounds of torque out of it, which is still 10-15% short of what it's spec'd to be rated for. A word of caution, however, an impact driver is not really the correct tool to be using on big bolts like that. You really want to be using an impact wrench. For one thing, this only has a 1/4-inch chuck. This small diameter shaft here can actually break, and if it breaks right here, then you're left with a little piece of the bit stuck inside here. It can be a real bear to get out. In my battery life testing of the X4 impact driver, it performed reasonably well. It wasn't up there with the brushless type motors, and it only has a 1.5 amp hour battery. That's pretty standard for drills of this size. It did okay. I wouldn't say it was the best, but it certainly wasn't the worst either. In conclusion, tools are always about value for money. So this one retails for about $140. If you add in another $50 for another battery, because this only comes with one, you're up around $180, which is getting towards the price of most of the brushless ones. However, this one works pretty well for what it is. I really like a lot of the features on it that are lacking from some of the more expensive ones. This one-handed collet that's on here, you might like, you might hate. I think it's actually pretty nice. It's easy to put the bits in and out of. The LEDs work well, they shine right where you want. They're also pretty bright. I really like having a switch for them. That makes it a lot easier to use. Feels nice in the hand, and I like the little bit holder on the back that a lot of the other drills lack. I'm a little concerned about the durability of it. There's no cushioning around the motor to help it survive impacts. There is some nice rubberized coating here that should help it if you drop it or if it falls on the concrete. I really like the fine control that's given by the variable speed. I also like that the impact works at very low speeds. That's very useful when you want to drive a screw to a precise bit. I do wish that it was a little more powerful. I'm almost not real happy that it doesn't meet its spec torque range. But other than that, I really like this impact driver and would be happy to own this any day. If you have any questions, please leave them in the comments below, and thanks for watching.